Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points in filmmaking. That's right, Dragon. We are here to discuss a movie that's, it's a couple weeks old, but it's still very warranted. It still has our attention. And, Wonder Woman might have stolen its thunder, but this movie has stolen our hearts. We're talking about Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. All right.
Tra-la-la.
Now, we already did a spoiler-free kind of first impressions podcast on this the day we saw it. I still haven't uploaded that yet. I'm sorry. I'm behind on the uploading schedule, but we don't need to talk about that. We don't need.
Don't bring that up.
I know. I'm saying, I know. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. I'm still getting my head around having 3 channels. Okay. Anyways. So, Dragon, I'd say it's safe to say we both love this movie, and this is a movie that's not getting a lot of love. The critics that have reviewed it have just, they've kind of just been a bit lukewarm on it. Captain Underpants, sure, it was a fun movie. Maybe, Dragon, we can kind of dissect our love of this movie by going through kind of beat by beat, not necessarily beat by beat through the movie, but going through and breaking it down the way we always do, these kind of things, starting with how we discovered Captain Underpants. Now, Dragon, of course, you and I, we can wax poetic all day long about, say it with me, Dragon, Scholastic book fairs. Oh, God. Oh, man. I mean, but other than that, Dragon, all I can say about the medium of the book Captain Underpants is that I appreciate how the movie got it down pat, because I think the book was a great mixture of, kind of comic book illustrations mixed with humor, mixed with, witty banter and jokes in the writing, and mixed with some animation. We had that Flip-O-Rama stuff going on. The books really were kind of this transcendental experience for a lot of people growing up, ourselves included. It definitely kind of, I said this in my spoiler-free review of this movie, but I love how the movie kind of calls to mind how the book would inspire us to draw and tell stories and create things. And just, I don't know, Dragon, I don't really have a lot to say about the books that I haven't said before, but it's just thinking about the movie more and more. It's just the movie captured the spirit of the books perfectly.
Yeah. I was just going to kind of recap, just remind everyone the magic of Captain Underpants. If I could take them through a little nostalgic journey, if I may.
Go ahead.
So, of course, folks, as Deacon and I mentioned, of course, a lot of our, many people's first memory of Captain Underpants has probably been going to a Scholastic book fair and seeing those colorful covers on the stands.
Oh yeah.
So, believe it or not, just when they were advertising the Scholastic book fair, there were these, I had kind of 3 moments of advertised Captain Underpants to me. One was that, and there was this advertisement that they played. Basically, this VHS tape they put in on the AV cards.
Oh, really? Okay.
They had this advertisement for all the books. They kind of go through the books and stuff.
Nice,
and of course, they kind of give you a little selling spiel for the books. And of course, the one that stuck in my mind, and really, oddly enough, it's so bizarre how this turned out. Everything that advertised Captain Underpants to me was the 5th book. So I kind of started there because that was the one that was coming out, I guess, at the time, really trying to sell people on. Just that seemed the most interesting to me. That's why to this day, the 5th book is still my favorite.
What was the 5th book? Remind me.
The Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman.
Wedgie Woman, right. Nice.
So let me build it for a moment. So basically, they pop in the VHS tape. It goes through a bunch of books, and of course, they have a trailer, essentially kind of like a, it's not animated. It's just like they basically add tone and everything. Someone reads it, like kind of the back of the book, essentially, is trying to sell you on it. And again, it's really intense. Oh my god!
Did they have a voice actor doing the tra-la-la?
I believe so. They might have had a few incidental voices kind of acting. Oh no, Captain Underpants is in peril, that sort of thing.
Right.
And the last thing I really haven't just kind of what introduced me to Captain Underpants was believe it or not, Arthur. You remember Arthur the show?
Oh, of course. Come on. That's a huge meme nowadays. Of course I know Arthur.
Just want to make sure for the new kiddies out there.
Come on. Who doesn't know Arthur?
Well, again, the kids of the modern generation, they might not know.
I think the kids of the modern generation know Arthur for a different reason.
All right. Yeah. Zaratiki speaking about because I'm a dinosaur apparently. Anyway, so
Arthur is a meme in the same way B movie is a meme. Dragon.
really? It's
I'll
that
just
bad?
say that much. I'll just say that much.
Okay.
I
Anyway,
wouldn't say it's as bad as the B movie thing, but it's pretty. Anyways,
the point is, if I'm right, Fern, I think she, again all the different weird animal hybrids. It's kind of hard to keep track. I think she was like the dog one that was the bookworm, purple dress, pink, purple bow in there. Point is, Fern, the book smart one. She was introduced to the library, and she went and they had that librarian character. And basically, she was like, "Look at all these books, like Frankenstein, and then also you have like lighter books like Captain Underpants and the Wicked Wedgie Woman." Again, it's just so shouted out to me. It's like,
right.
It's like, oh my god! Again, it's all that stuff that's swirling around. Like, yeah, I know that book. So those things drew me to Captain Underpants. Of course, let me recap. So this is essentially with Tiki Eye and kind of your average Captain Underpants fan who at least kind of knew about Captain Underpants. These are the books that were out and available. I'm just going to read through them real quick. It's going to give like a little refresher if anyone recognizes these titles. The Adventures of Captain Underpants.
Classic first title with the blue cover and everything.
Absolutely. Attack of the then the rest of them are Captain Underpants and Captain Underpants and the attack of the talking toilets,
which was teased in the movie.
Yep, then you have the longest title, I think. Then again, the titles got longer as they went on. But
that was kind of a game, yeah.
Invasion of the naughty cafeteria ladies from outer space. There was like a parentheses name. I'm not going to give the big bad zombie kids. It doesn't matter. Then there was of course the fourth one that definitely influenced the movie, The Perilous Plight of Professor Poop Pants.
Oh yeah.
Then of course, Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman. There's my jam.
Oh, yeah.
Then there was a two-parter. There was book 6 and 7, which was the big bad battle of the Bionic Booger Boy.
Oh yeah, I remember that two-parter. Right.
Oh yeah, and then the last one. Here's the important bit in the Captain Underpants history we have to hit. So there was this next one that was the preposterous. Sorry, it's a really long time. The preposterous plight of the purple potty people.
Oh yeah.
And of course, they had books of fun on the side, just all throughout. Then, or there were some other spin-offs as well. The Super Diaper Baby, and basically after the Super Diaper Baby,
Super Diaper Baby! Jesus Christ, I forgot all about that.
So importantly, after Super Diaper Baby, after these spin-offs, ushered in the spin-offs, which now we have Dogman. Dogman is the most recent one. But the reason that we have the most recent one, the reason there was a big gap. The reason that Captain Underpants kind of fell off the radar was that Dave Pilkey's father took ill, so we kind of took a few years off from the book.
Right.
At that time, we all kind of moved on, or believe it or not, some of us, we didn't forget about Captain Underpants. We just got distracted with other things. Like
we got older.
Yeah, like for instance, I moved on to a series of unfortunate events. I believe at that time, just kind of filled the void of like, I need some good to read. Well, let's go to series of unfortunate events because no more Captain Underpants. They kept advertising the next book, and it never came.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for that reason, then apparently, and Antigua, this is something I'm not sure if you're aware of, and I was kind of researching it for this. I was kind of blown away by it. We actually have an ending to the Captain Underpants series.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they ended the Captain Underpants series at book 12. So it went to 12.
Oh wow,
12 books, and then of course now there's some other spin-offs that all are from George and Harold. George and Harold make other comics, which of course Super Diaper Baby and Dogman. Dogman was the first thing Dave Pilkey ever created, ever since he was in second grade. So that's finally has a book series, and just on the whole, just what we feel about the books. They're clever and fun, and a lot of inventive design.
Genre bending.
Very much so, and again, the thing I think appealed to me was just how inventive these designs were. I loved to draw them myself, and just drawing not only those designs, but especially drawing drawing your own comics. Like again, that book made it look so easy. You do it on your own,
right?
So a lot of good memories. And that book series really did a good service to kids on the whole.
Yeah. I like the movie. Like I said, I like how the movie celebrates the artistic side of the book. The fact that the book kind of, celebrated creativity. Mm-hmm. It really is something that, as good as stuff like Harry Potter and Series of Unfortunate Events are as stories, they didn't have that same level of immersion and interactivity that something like Captain Underpants had.
Exactly.
Anyways, Dragon. So let's get into. We have the backstory of the book. Let's get into the backstory for the film.
All right. So many people may be wondering, how the heck did DreamWorks get the rights to Captain Underpants?
I know, right? That is.
So again, I remember this when it was announced, like in this long, basically it's like this funny thing in retrospect. DreamWorks at a certain point they'll have like a whole list of films, like Wikipedia or something on DreamWorks, and be like, here are a list of films that have no release date, but they have the rights to, or they are in development. And way back when I was looking down, they're like, oh my god, Captain Underpants, you're gonna make a Captain Underpants movie. It's amazing. So here's the story behind that, how we got on that little section and how it got its way into theaters. So DreamWorks, believe it or not, has been interested in Captain Underpants ever since the first book was released in '97. So they've had their eye on this.
So that's pretty much since the dawn of the company, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, close to, yeah. I think.
Well, I mean, at the very least, the dawn of the animation division of DreamWorks.
That's true. I mean, if basically they had gotten, I'll get into like what kind of stole them from getting the rights, but had they gotten the rights immediately, it could have been in 2D.
Oh wow.
I know, mind blowing, right? This is like around the El Dorado era.
It could have been like in between Road to El Dorado and Prince of Egypt or something like that.
Yeah, we're that early in it because we had Chicken Run, we had those, and of course they started off with
Ants.
If I'm right, yeah, I think Tiki 97 is when DreamWorks got started because they had the 97-98 battle between it's like the battle between Ants and Bugs Life. But it's true, it was a battle.
Yeah. Which do you prefer, Dragon?
Are you seriously asking me that? Bugs Life.
I prefer Ants.
Really?
Yeah, I prefer Ants.
Oh, get it. We got to have that discussion sometime.
Okay. I'd be willing to.
Anyway.
I think Ants is more original.
Anyway.
A Bug's Life is just Seven Samurai. Anyways, go ahead.
Anyway.
Oh, man, I touched a nerve there. Oh, man. Jesus, I didn't know you had such passion for a Bug's Life.
Oh, that's just... anyway.
Okay, go ahead.
So Dave Pilkey, believe it or not, he was very reluctant.
He was kind of like a Bill Watterson type.
In a way, yes. He was very reluctant. Putting his creation in the trust of a studio. And by the way, this is probably like after the first book comes out, he has other ideas, and there might be a fear of like them just kind of taking all creative rights from him, which
of course,
there's a legitimate fear of that. Like he wants to put a book out. They say no, you can't do it. We're doing a movie, and you can't use his characters yet. And again, of course, like what if Captain Underpants reaches like a development hex sort of situation where you can't do anything new in your books, and we're working on the movie, so you can do more books. So it's going to take like 4 to 5 years, which as we've seen with Dave Pilkey, take off 4 to 5 years, and anything can happen in between.
Right.
So the point is, Dave Pilkey, just to boil it down, Dave Pilkey was very reluctant until years later he was invited for a studio tour.
Okay.
And what DreamWorks did, to their credit, again, DreamWorks can be really crafty and they're in a good way. DreamWorks. The best sort of pleasantries, the visual kind. Everyone has a show of solidarity and show of support. They all wore their underwear on the outside of their pants when he walked in there, which made Pilkey laugh because, of course, deep down he is George and Harold.
Right.
So he laughed, and that was just kind of it showed him like, okay, this is funny. These guys are basically they have something in common with the laughter, but also it showed them that they have a love for the character. It seems a love for the source material. So it was kind of like a twofold little moment there. Now. In 2011, so here's another thing that might have been the reason for the rights delay too, is that the reason after he was kind of a meeting with DreamWorks after he was taking the studio tour, I just like put his faith in DreamWorks. But in 2011, they had the rights for Captain Underpants were up for auction because Captain Underpants is a very popular book series.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how Gotham's put up for auction to see which network would they put in their bids to see who is going to get the rights.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be able to make it, and DreamWorks won again because they've been trying to get this book series since '97. So obviously, they're really gunning for it. And it just shows you how big Captain Underpants was at the time that studios had to really auction for the rights to this one book series.
Right.
So production starts 2013 with now you and I remember this when we were talking about maybe since the trailer. Rob Letterman was the initial director.
That's true. Yeah.
So the team was Rob Letterman and Nick Stoller. Nick Stoller was the writer, and he still remains the writer on the project. So Letterman let's remind the folks that don't know what Letterman directed. He directed Goosebumps and the oncoming sequel for Goosebumps. He live action film. He did Monsters vs. Aliens, which is a decent film. He did short. I'm sorry.
I said I still haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's okay. He did Shark Tale, which is not so okay. And this is interesting.
I
Letterman's
remember
also,
liking Shark Tale as a kid.
I liked it. I like elements of Shark Tale. That's it. I liked it a lot better. Yeah, back when I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
better.
as a kid, I liked it.
Nowadays, does not hold up.
No.
But I'm still just amused by De Niro as a shark, just because.
Oh God.
Honestly, that's the main takeaway from Shark. To have a few good scenes of like, hey, De Niro as a shark in a shark mafia. That's kind of cute.
The Shark Mafia was a fun idea. Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway, so okay. Also, Letterman is also working on the Pikachu, the much discussed Pikachu detective film.
Oh God. Don't do that. That's a trigger for me. Dragon.
Okay, now
let's.
Importantly, Stoller. Now, Stoller, you're gonna love this. Stoller, he's the writer on the new Muppet movies we've been getting.
Oh yeah, well that makes sense why this movie is so loving to the source material and so self-referential.
He's got Stoller has a lot of really good credits to his name in terms of writing. So he wrote the new Muppet movies. He wrote a movie I enjoyed quite a great deal. Fun with Dick and Jane. That was a good movie.
Never saw it.
The remake with Jim Carrey. Anyway, just for the folks out there. He did Yes Man, another Jim Carrey movie, which was decent.
It was decent, yeah.
And Storks, which went over really well. And again,
I like Storks. I really like
fits
Storks,
in kind of with the humor of the movie a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so most likely due to and this is at the time Letterman left. Most likely due to the I remember this ticket. Most likely due to the DreamWorks financial crisis in 2015.
Oh God, I do remember that. Just because How to Train Your Dragon 2 was so good, and it was like, oh no, are we gonna get a 3?
Now, due to that, two things had to happen. One, they outsourced, and this is something that for the benefit of the movie, said. They outsourced production to a Canadian studio. That's why this film does not look like any of the previous DreamWorks films. It's not like a DreamWorks style.
It doesn't fit into the style. Yeah.
Absolutely. This is why it's actually in the Captain Underpants style. It's thanks to this Canadian studio. I hope I'm saying it right. Micros Animation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Micros Image Animation Studio. Right. So which gives us the Peanuts level faithful look, kind of similar to Peanuts getting the faithful look, Captain Underpants faithful look. Anyway, so Letterman leaves at this point as well, maybe due to that, or to his various other projects like Detective Pikachu. Anyway, so then we get David Soren. Now, David Soren directed Turbo, and he was a board artist on El Dorado, a film that Tiki and I and various other people.
We adore El Dorado, yes.
So with the El Dorado, he's a storyman El Dorado, and also Shrek, just kind of the early stuff of DreamWorks. The point is, the guy's got talent there, and also he directed, which I've seen, and Turbo, it's okay, it's harmless, it's very much a kid's film.
I've heard it's decent,
because based on that, Pilkey was a big fan of Turbo himself.
Oh, was he really? Huh.
Yeah, so when he learned that Dave Soren...
Dragon, I'm curious. You might not know anything about this, but do you know how Pilkey thought about what Pilkey thought about the Peanuts movie?
Unfortunately, no, I don't know.
I'd be very curious because I would think that the Peanuts movie would be a big thing where he'd be like, oh, okay, if Captain Underpants turns out anything like that, then I'm in good shape.
That would be very interesting to find out. I don't know. I think he's a Peanuts fan, so I would assume he liked like the rest of the general public. But anyway, so he's a big fan of Turbo, and he worked and because of this, once this Dave Soren was put into production, he worked really closely with him in the beginnings there. And there's like a certain point after getting to know the guy, he's had some reverence for the previous work. He got a sense that he really got Captain Underpants, and just Pilkey kind of he makes this joke in the interviews. He's revealed that he just saw they got it so much that he just said, "Okay, guys, just send me the tickets when you're done. You guys got it."
Right.
He was just very confident in their abilities. He's very hands off. He was really involved in it. I'm presuming just kind of nailing down the style. And then after that, just like he left it to them, and just all the confidence in the world in their abilities. And that's how we get the film we have it today.
Okay. All right. So without further ado, Dragon, before we break it down, why don't you give a quick plot synopsis for the good folks at home?
Okay, Captain Underpants movie. So. It's the first epic movie.
Very simple plot. This shouldn't take long.
So we follow two fourth graders, best friends, George Beard and Harold Hutchins. One with a tie and flat top, the other with a bad haircut. Remember that. That's important. They always start every comic with that. They always start every book with that as well. So. They're creating comics, hanging out at Treehouse Comics Incorporated. They also attend the very depressing and very mundane Jerome Horowitz Elementary School. There they prank and have fun with the staff all the livelong day, much to Principal Krupp's annoyance, and much to Krupp's annoyance that he is unable to prove it's them and nail them for all their pranks and then their wacky, wonderful hijinks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a part of we see Krupp as part of a sinister plot. Krupp using Suck Up, Melvin Schneedley, he gets the boys on tape, threatens to annihilate the friendship, as he puts it, by putting them in separate classes.
Oh God.
Makes the boil down. In a moment of panic, George uses a hypno ring on Krupp and into Captain Underpants. Boys turn him into Captain Underpants for a laugh until they realize, oh my god, we turned a grown man into Captain Underpants, and see how bad an idea that really is, and deal with the shenanigans of that. And evil, hilariously named mad scientist plot at the same time to deal with. Silly stuff ensues, a million laughs, and that's pretty much the movie.
All right, so let's break down the characters then. Let's start with George and Harold. Oh my God, Dragon, these two they leap off the page. Just absolutely. It's like as soon as the movie started and they were like breaking the fourth wall and talking to the audience about comics and whatnot, I was just like, yes, they have it. They've got it. This is perfect. I'm not a big Kevin Hart fan, Dragon. I'm really not, but I definitely think his voice fit well with the George character.
I think Kevin Hart's very talented. I just think he needs the right projects. I think he just needs. We need to see stuff. We need him to be more gutsy with it. I think he can do great drama. We'd never really see.
I'm not a big fan of his stand-up. I'll say that much. His stand-up is very like I'm a big fan of folks like Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr that like really put a lot of storytelling into their stand-up. And Kevin Hart is just kind of like a big like joke kind of guy with his stand-up. So I'm not big on that, which is really, for me, kind of like the telling point with any comedian is his stand-up. And I don't know, I haven't really seen a lot of his movies. Like, I haven't seen, like, anything like Ride Along or anything like that. So so I really don't have a big barometer to judge him acting-wise. I don't know. I definitely think this is one of my favorite roles of his. Maybe it's just because, like I said, I just think his voice is a natural fit for the character.
Very much so, yes. What's the film's very well cast. Let's get that out of the way right now. So everyone is just cast really on the money.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to we really exemplify those characters we knew in the books. And I like that we do George, of course, he's a clever, smart kid, and I like that they differentiate. Like they remind the folks that in the audience watching this is that, he's George is the writer and Harold's the artist. And I like that we do see that.
I really like that. I really like that angle. Yeah.
Because it's been a while. Because I forget if they ever we always see like them with pencils making the comics. Never really saw like who did what. I'm pretty sure like maybe in the first one they had like a line explaining it, but again, I don't know if they refresh everyone on every issue. We kind of see that unfold with that great fourth wall opening with the comics. So we see, Harold making alterations to the comic that are funnier, like adding dolphins every which way.
Oh, so many dolphins. So many dolphins.
So, and I like how we attach some meaning to that. Again, George is kind of he's the clever one, and he's he shoulders the execution in. It's funny in this way. I kind of noticed this is that in the comic, of course, George writes it, Harold draws it. In real life, George shoulders the execution in real life.
Uh-huh.
Again, he's like, it's Harold's not really the intellectual in real life. He's really clever on the page, and as we see, it's where the thing boils down. Harold again, he can't really craft the story, but he's really instinctual with his art.
Right.
Yeah, and creative artist, but he's more impulsive, which we see in real life. Harold, George gets the idea, and Harold executes the idea as well. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Let's see, Thomas Middleditch, who plays Harold. I don't really know much about this guy.
I don't know much about him either, but I like with Harold. We do see it really is a package deal between the two of these guys.
Like you said, I think just the best, not to be repetitive, Dragon, but I think just the best way to describe their relationship is kind of like bouncing off each other, creativity. Wow, I can't talk. I can't.
Yeah, like
talk.
these kids, you kind of see it almost like they have almost like kind of a Lee Kirby kind of dynamic with them, or one just like not exactly the same. I'm saying like two creators that are so synonymous with each other, they bounce so well off of each other and how they.
I would almost call it more of a Frank and Ollie sort of thing.
Sure. I'm just going with like kind of little comics kind of
right,
thing,
right.
or like kind of Snyder Capullo, that type of thing. Just like kind of kid each other so well.
Mm-hmm. I really like how the movie's stakes are simply, like they can't be switched. They can't switch classes.
Yeah, we never forget that they're kids. They're overreacting. It's like
Dragon.
They live right next to each other.
I gotta say, like I had a George to my Harold, right? Like in elementary school, Justin Lorette, if you're watching, hi Justin. Okay, like we were like best friends, right? From like 3rd grade to 5th grade. We were like tight at the hip. And there were situations where the teachers were like, my God, you guys are like so close that we might have to separate you two. And that'd just be the end of the world, Dragon, to be like a doomsday scenario. And so I really, really love how the main plot of the movie is something as simple as like best friends being separated in different classes. It fits so well with like how high stakes even little simple things are for a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again,
I love the moment in the mall where they pass each other on the elevator and they're like,
yeah,
do I know that guy?
Yep, and something that's with them being a package, just to add one more level to that. Again, you see that again, like Harold strikes me as he's like the Ferris Bueller break. He instigate. Obviously, he always starts us off when we break the 4th wall. It's always George. I'm sorry, I meant George. Yeah, George breaks the 4th wall. Then Harold also communicates to the audience in the scene. But it feels like as we see in some scenes later on, especially in the art and just like in some of very favorite scenes in the movie, Harold just runs wild with it. So George reins Harold in, and Harold's just like, "Oh, George, you gotta do something." It's just,
right.
Again, like he knows something. Again, like he grasps the situation, but he can't target all his creativity, and that's what George does, and that's why they're the perfect pair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like only Harold can come with something as crazy as, "Hey, a hero wears his underpants on the outside." Which, by the way, of course, the inspiration for Captain Underpants in the story, of course, is the inspiration for him in real life. Just like superheroes always wearing underwear on the outside. Which, of course, what's so funny? It's just occurring to me now.
What?
Is that nowadays in the superhero films, we go so far out of our way to take the underpants off the hero. Now this film brings the underpants back on the hero. Finally, because we always remove the red and black shorts from Batman and Superman. Now we have a hero who embraces all about wearing the shorts on the outside.
Now all we need is like Nicktoons to revive Doug as like a Quail Man spin-off show.
Exactly. Like Duck Dodgers, but Quail Man.
Yeah, exactly. God, I would kill for that, man. That'd be awesome.
You see what I'm saying, though? It's just that old the old story, like it's like, hey, if heroes already look like they're wearing underwear on their outside, why don't we just have that? Why don't we just have that right? It's such a brilliant, simple idea for a superhero.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I like how, of course, we'll get more into it with the actual Captain Underpants character, but I like how this isn't really a superhero movie. It's more of a hypnotism movie.
True.
Like it's got some superhero tropes in it, but most of all, it's just George and Harold kind of like running around making sure this man-child doesn't cause chaos.
Well, technically, it's a comic book movie because comic books, of course, we start off with a comic book.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, that's about all I got without getting into my favorite scenes when it comes to George and Harold. Unless you have anything else.
No, I think we covered them. Again, we're just really likable lads, and again, of course, like importantly, and this is something that was in the book that like that we see in the movie. We don't really spend time expositing things. We see that these are good kids. Obviously, they have a sense of responsibility about them, especially George. They see that obviously a principal Krupp, running around in his underwear like a crazy man. That's obviously something they can't just let it pursue him. And again, there is a sense of responsibility showing to us, the audience, that these fundamentally are good kids. And importantly, here's something I'm going to highlight that we could say is for pros and cons, I guess, but just touch on it lightly.
All right.
we fix things that are a little they kind of not date the book, things that kind of we improve upon a few things in the book where George and Harold are far more like clean cut, likable. Like they don't really do like they're not pranking the whole school. They're just pranking the staff. Like
I
the
mean,
staff that
Dragon,
makes school so depressing.
it's funny that you mention it because I like as much reverence as we do have for the books. I, honest to God, think this is a good example of like one of those rare cases where the movie actually improves upon the source material.
In a way, yes.
Because I think we not only get that for George and Harold, but we get that with Professor Krupp as well. I think Professor Krupp is
Principal Krupp.
Professor Poopy Pants. I'm sorry, I'm mixing my characters here. Principal Krupp is a big improvement over his book counterpart. I think you'd agree with me there.
Yes, mainly the first book, and you got to remember, folks, the first book's testing the waters, and over time, I think the books that came later, especially Volume 4, which this book takes a lot from, that's where we're getting more in line with just they're getting to a rhythm with it, which is kind of what we have in the movie.
Okay, all right. So, do you want to move on to Captain Underpants or Krupp?
No, let's start with the captain.
Start with Captain.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have a ton to say about him. I just think that, the personality is replicated very well. I like how he's he's very much kind of more, he's more played as just a danger to himself and others than he is an actual superhero, which I think is funny. Ed Helms does a very good job with the voice, and he also does a great job of kind of distinguishing between the two, switching between the two roles.
Do you remember who I've always been saying, who I've been recommending for Captain Underpants back when we knew it was just being developed?
Oh, jeez, crap. Oh. Say it, but I as soon as you say it, I'm gonna kick myself for not knowing it. But say
Louis Black.
Of course, yeah.
Because it's like he could be like the grumpy the Krupp at the same time. Could be like he uses sarcastic voice for tra la 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 la. But no, Ed Helms. I had a good feeling about Ed Helms, just given I know how kind of theatrical he can be, but Louis Black was always my first pick for Captain. But I think Ed Helms did next.
Honestly, I think Ed Helms kind of blends more into the character than Louis Black would. Because I mean, as much as we love Louis Black, let's face it, anger is not anger. Anger is Louis Black personified. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely, that's the thing with Ed Helms. You get more of you have a scene in the movie, of course, where they keep splashing water and they keep snapping their fingers, and in doing so, just they do it back and forth, he transforms so seamlessly, and I think you have that with having a voice that is still. He plays like the seesaw effect on Captain Underpants so well.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
There's a big strength to his performance. And the way he plays Captain Underpants, I want to highlight with Ed Helms' performance, is that I love how Captain Underpants, he's playing it straight like a movie serial hero, like a George Reeves type. He's just
I'm glad you mentioned that. That is kind of the style he's going for, yeah.
Captain Underpants sees himself as George Reeves from the '50s Superman show. He'll wink to the camera.
I'll save you, good citizen.
Exactly, and it's kind of, and I've been saying this since the trailer, since we got that glimpse of it. Again, he's just playing kind of like a deluded Buzz Lightyear type. He's deluded yet good-hearted. Captain Underpants does not reality does not enter this man's mind. He thinks he's in a comic book. So again, it's kind of like deluded Buzz, to simplify it for folks. Again, it's kind of like he just doesn't realize that he's not a superhero.
Yeah, really fun.
And again, you're absolutely right. He is a danger to himself and others.
That's pretty much the plot of the movie.
and again, Tiki, just the logic of this is so fantastic. The reason he is that way, he's a little dumb because he's a silly creation whose mentality and entire psyche is shaped by a superhero comic from fourth graders. Not like you're full, not like a dimensionalized, like his parents were murdered, so he's going to be
oh god,
his plan.
I'd like to see Frank Miller's Captain Underpants.
Oh god, that'd be.
Oh man.
Well, technically, if we did that, oh my god, the Dark Knight Returns era of Captain Underpants, he'd be the Dark Diaper.
Oh god. Oh my god. Let's not go down that rabbit hole right now.
So he'd be Captain Underpants coming out of retirement, but he'd be wearing a diaper because he's in an advanced age.
Yes.
They go super old with it, and they would actually. He did. It's just that
you're going down the rabbit hole, Dragon. Come back.
But the headline. Okay.
Go ahead.
Anyway, well, Dogman. The Dogman book. They had they had a reference to Dark Knight Returns of one of the Dogman.
Gotcha.
So certain names anyway. Implying that Dave Pilkey has read the Frank Miller stuff anyway. So, but yeah, you see what I'm saying? Though, I love the logic. It's not even like a well fleshed out like professional comic. It's just like these four guys just making each other laugh, and that's what this whole man's psyche is completely comprised of. And of course, as we see in this image here, I mean, Captain Underpants, he poses fantastically.
Mm-hmm.
And he loves his catchphrase. I love that he really loves his catchphrase. He loves adding the A's to tra-la-la.
Yeah.
By the way, do you Ed Helms can hold a tra-la-la,
man.
For 32 seconds.
I'm not surprised. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Tra-la-la was definitely something the kids that were coming out of the theater repeating to themselves. And that kind of made me happy. I was like, oh, I remember back in the day in elementary.
How did you imagine tra-la-la when you were reading it? Can you remember?
To be honest with you, pretty similar to how it is in the book, or in the movie, I mean.
Okay.
Maybe, actually, no, no, if I'm remembering correctly, in my mind, it was kind of more of a, like, tra-la-la, like, kind of like...
Yeah, that's what I had, too.
Like more of a sing-songy thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tra-la-la!
That's what I had, yeah. Oh, by the way, just before, I meant to ask you this earlier, so I don't forget, just talking about Captain Underpants in general, of course, the title within the character's name. What was your favorite book that you read?
Oh gosh, man, it's been so long.
At least favorite idea. I mean, you don't have to remember every single detail.
Nah, it's been too long. I couldn't tell you. I really.
All right.
It's been way too long.
Okay.
I haven't revisited those books in decades.
All right. Of course, I love that we do pull the. No, I'll get pros and cons. Let's move forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so on to Clup then.
Krupp.
Yes. All right.
Oh yes, good old.
I'm thinking of Nutty Professor. Right?
I know, that's what I'm trying to avoid. I keep saying Professor Clump. It's Principal Krupp.
Yeah, you're right. That is where I'm getting the professor thing from too. Oh my god. Okay. Principal Krupp. Yes. I think this is definitely the best element of the movie.
Absolutely. I
think Ed Helms he just nails it. It's a very, very sympathetic character. It's the kind of character where, yeah, he's a little mean, but you get why he's mean. You see how he's being pushed to the limits. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean,
Ed Helms he gives us more dimension with Krupp, while still being he's the over the top killjoy to the boys' fun, but at the same time there's a less sadness, more a reality that brings sadness.
Yeah, and I like how the whole killjoy thing. It's like I feel like he's more of a killjoy just in the minds of George and Harold themselves than in reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's
like I kind of get the picture that he's actually a semi-decent principal. He's at the very least not like the overbearing villain that we see in the books, which was Dragon and I. We can agree that's sort of the big issue we have with the books.
Yes, Krupp was very evil, and at the most he was super evil in the first book. All right, the first book they were testing the waters, and that's where things were really askew. If you ever read that first book again,
right.
And I still think, just given the general misery of the school, I don't think that's necessarily him being a really good principal. I still think he's just he has this quirk where he does he's too strict to the rules to the point where he's just going to make things. It's almost like he's abiding by the rules too much, and that causes everyone to be super miserable.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically,
so I guess in a way they do kind of capture the whole the whole the authoritarian nature of the book with how miserable everyone in the school is, but they kind of give us some more layers on the actual character, so it's not so one-sided.
Yeah, it's like this. It's he's understandably peeved at times, yet he plays it as if it's played in the film as if Krupp's job is to make school feel like prison and no fun at all, and Krupp is just way too efficient at that job. But again, we see the humanity. There's humanity we see throughout here,
which I think is kind of a nice commentary on how kids see adults and how kids see authority figures.
Yeah, I got a very much of a. And I love that we got this layer in the movie. Very much kind of a Principal Prickly vibe from Recess.
Oh God! Oh, so much,
right?
Much. Yes, absolutely.
He's just perpetually. It's he's
prickly.
Absolutely. Oh my god, I could talk about Prince.
Oh, I know. Anyways.
Can't do that. My point is, we see that he's got a lonely home life, and he's not an unsympathetic guy. He's just perpetually grumpy and cranky and grumpy. Again, very much kind of the Principal Prickly mold. We don't really do that much because basically, folks, the way in the book is that. We get very unsympathetic portrayal of Krupp in the first book, and then going forward, he's just kind of a plot device.
Right.
Yes, there's Krupp, and sometimes I forget if sometimes the boys were assisting the principal for a day or something. But the point is, Krupp wasn't as much of a character as he in this movie, and that was a great kind of.
Whereas in the movie, he is kind of like the main driving force, even more so than George and Harold, I think.
Exactly, and again,
George and Harold are more the narrators of the movie more than anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we do get some really genuine laughs with Krupp, and also some drama here and there too. Like when he's we'll get to some of that later. But we get some genuine laughs that are just again not always like kind of the over the top. And this is a poor comparison. Nowadays, back then, this would have been an excellent comparison. Kind of like Ed Rooney from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Again, he's kind of like again, I feel horrible stuff has happened with that actor these days. But again. Back then,
right.
Again, he's very much like an Ed Rooney over the top type. Like, oh god, he's just going to absurd lengths to, to kind of get these to prove that these children are pulling pranks, and he was trying to get them on something. But he can't. At the same time, that we have these great moments where he's just like in his office saying they're like basically not paying him any mind because they have him like literally at the tip of their fingers. He's like, what is going on? There's no respect. It's just like, it's some genuine hilarity with Krupp. Krupp is a big benefit of this film.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Melvin, brother of the Joker.
Anyway. Melvin Schneedley, folks, voiced by one of those talented Key and Peele lads.
Oh my god, Dragon, this is one of those moments, like, in the theater, I saw his name in the credits, I was like, what? That was Jordan Peele? Really, really impressive right there.
Home what Jordan Peele's done.
Well, I mean, besides Key and Peele, he also wrote and directed Get Out, which is one of the best films of the year.
I was saying that's kind of the big thing this year. Yes.
Yeah. Anyways. So yeah, Melvin, honestly not my favorite character in the movie. He is more kind of just a plot device to me. Kind of a cliche.
True, but I think again they're kind of introducing him here. Let's just say, when we get the speculation, I think in the future Melvin obviously for obvious reasons will become more important as things if they do go on, which again we'll get into.
I just say like Jacob and I, like, we covered the show Milo Murphy's Law, and there's a character on that show that's very, very, very similar to Melvin, just in attitude and whatnot. It's just kind of like the know-it-all brat, it's like, I don't know, Dragon. It's not a character that I ever really find likable, to tell you the truth.
He's not supposed to be. So, I mean, you're feeling exactly how you're supposed to feel about him.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Like, I think that character can be done right. Like, I don't know. Like, it's not exactly the same archetype, but something like Mandark. I think Mandark is an example of...
that's kind of a rough comparison. Mandark's a lot more likable.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. I'm saying Mandark is one of those kind of like rival know-it-all characters done right.
Right.
Anyways, I don't know. This kid is like, he's not bad. He's just sort of just a plot device. He's just kind of there.
Well, I just think he's fulfilling that role. Just he's the overachieving tattletale who with literally no sense of humor. That's kind of what he plays. Just I love how we have this how Peele's just playing him so minimally. Just playing.
That is true. Yes.
I just love it. In each scene, you can visually see that. Oh man, I don't know what it is. I just don't like Melvin. It's like the communicator. Like he's taking notes, and like, bear in mind, it is elementary school, but like in the early elementary school days, like when George and Harold first meet, their Uranus
in kindergarten.
Yes, in kindergarten. When they meet each other in kindergarten, like they're in between. They're on the opposite sides of Melvin, who again is like in like a room full of kindergartners, the only one taking notes. Like, there's something about this kid I don't trust.
Right.
Melvin.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's, like, probably the closest thing this movie has to an element that I don't like. But as I said, it's more just sort of like, I'm not a big fan of this archetype of character, and they didn't really do a lot with him. He's not, like, offensively bad or anything like that. It's not like the Minions, where I'm not going to see the movie because of the Minions. Yes, that's my feelings on Despicable Me 3, by the way. I like all the stuff with Gru and his brother, but then they show the minions in prison and getting the tattoos on their ass cheeks, and I'm like, nah, fuck that.
Look, I'll admit, I'm not crazy about that gag, but I gotta tell you, Minions in prison does sound kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm not. Anyways, but
anyway.
Okay, is that it with Melvin?
Pretty much.
Okay. So let's move on to one of my favorite voice actresses, Kristen Shaw, who had a fun surprise role in the movie as as Edith, the lunch lady.
Yeah, an original character.
Oh my god, Dragon! As soon as this character came on, I heard the voice. I was like, oh, that's her. That's my Mabel. That's my Mabel.
I knew these voice actors going into this movie. So teachers are completely surprised at every left turn here.
I guess so. I just I didn't pay that much attention to the voice acting, but no, I mean, this woman, she's like in maybe like 2 or 3 scenes, so she's not a major role. But
I know I love her role in the movie though.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like her main,
She's adding layers to Krupp, so I think she strengthens his character still by just,
Absolutely. It's like she is kind of a plot device as well, but I think she's just a more likable plot device than Melvin is, and she's more, she works better in the context of the movie, I think.
I don't know if you've seen this, Tiki. I would hope you have. Kirsten Shaw, she did this, Kirsten Shaw, she did this wonderful little PSA that feels genuine at the same time. Obviously, it's kind of a joke, but it's a really good PSA where she's basically saying, "Hey, don't judge lunch ladies. Say hi and see Cat in Underpants." So it's kind of an advertisement at the same time. It's like saying, "Hey, when you always avoid the lunch ladies, don't do that. Say hi to them."
I like how she has a southern accent in this movie. That's one of the things I haven't really heard from Kristen Shaw before.
Yeah.
I
love that she's earnestly infatuated with him.
Right, it's all very sweet. You know what I mean? It's all very like, hey Arnold, like you.
In a way, yes. And basically, I like that it's not just one. I like that it's not one side. I like that it's like they both have feelings for each other. Just Krupp being a loner, he can't really express that the way he wants to. It's just they both have trouble expressing, especially Krupp.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I like that, and again, they both kind of pick up on it too, but again, never at the same time when they're together. And I do like that just on the whole. I like that Captain Underpants kind of brings them together in many ways, because Captain Underpants not brings in terms of the journey that of course the boys kind of help set that up.
Sure.
But also in the fact when Captain Underpants he's kind of dressed as Krupp, he's kind of hitting on Edith. Again, there's kind of a DNA. There's an attraction to Edith, and in fact, Captain Underpants is being all pleasant to her, and she's really charmed by it. Oh, you have wonderful blue eyes. And she's, oh, you flirt alert. She's just going into that.
Oh, God, Kristen Shaw.
Real quick, just to point out this, because your favorite voice actress is in this movie, and mine is too, which is a much smaller role.
Okay.
So,
Grey Delilah?
Yes.
Okay.
Or Grey. Again, the credits are all. Oh, her and her various hyphen last names. Oh, Grey Delilah.
Oh, God.
Oh, you wonderful voice actress. I want to give you credit, but you keep changing the name. The point is, Grey Delilah or Grey Delilah Griffin, whatever she would like to call herself, she's entitled to, whatever.
Right.
I'm just going to go through some of the staff we have here. We have actually good actors on the cast, too, but they kind of go by in the blink of an eye. Remember, the staff, I just want to list them off real quick. The staff also have really funny pun names. So we have Miss Anthrope, that's the secretary, and that's Grey Delilah. So that's Grey Delilah. The one who's on the phone the whole movie. That's
okay. That was a great gag, by the way.
Yes. Then we have, and this one's a favorite of ours, Steve. We really like this actor. We have Mr. Morty Fide. He is the science teacher, and he is voiced by Mel Rodriguez, who, of course, is Marco from Better Call Saul.
Oh, okay, nice.
He is the science teacher.
I would have never picked him out, but okay, I'll take your word on it.
I like that they cast him as a character also with a noticeable mustache. He's the science teacher. Basically, Krupp says, "Hey, remember the science fair? It's on Saturday." He says, "Oh, he doesn't want to be there Saturday."
Hey, Marco rocks the mustache, man.
Of course, God, yes. Let's see. There's two more. Just I don't have voice actors on these two, but I mean they're not notable like the other two. I'm just saying. We have Mr. Meaner, who might be a big character in the future. He was the last villain in the Captain Underpants series. Mr. Meaner,
Oh,
the
okay.
coach.
Uh-huh.
And he had a very important ability. But let's get in that speculation. Then we have Miss Terrible, who in the book turns into Wedgie Woman.
Oh, okay.
Remember, she's the one with the kind of beehive haircut and like the old glasses.
Right.
That's Miss Terrible. Get it? Terra Ribble. That's her full name. Anyway, yes, next character.
Okay, let's move on to saving the best for us. Let's get to Professor Diarrhea Shane Poopy Pants.
Professor Diarrhea Shane Poopy Pants.
Just Nick Kroll, man. Oh God, Nick Kroll.
Hiya, class. I'm your super cool new teacher.
Look. At the end of the day, this character is so fucking one note. It's not even funny, right?
He's hilarious.
But as I said, it's the voice acting that just absolutely sells this guy. Oh my God.
And he just with the first of all, Professor Poopy Pants. Believe it or not, Tiki, I think the reason they went with him, aside from just the hilarious name, is the fact that he's the Captain Underpants one that appeared the most in the books. He came back a lot.
I believe it. Yeah.
Now this is after the drop off, so I had no idea about this. But I had no idea. He came back like 2 or 3 more times after his first appearance.
He's like Captain Underpants' Joker.
It's in a way, and again, kind of and name definitely.
Right.
Well, technically, it's between Melvin and it's between Melvin's more like Two-Face, so it's kind of like Two-Face and Joker with that comparison anyway. But yeah, Professor Poopy Pants, he's this hilarious Einstein-esque caricature, who takes himself too seriously. He's got a chip on his shoulder with the name mocker. So I like there's a bit of sympathy with the dear professor.
Yeah, we do have that great flashback to everyone laughing at him. That's that's some good character building.
Nobel Prize. He's just I love the fact that he is this Nobel Prize winning mind who goes mad with revenge.
He just happens to be burdened with a shitty name, literally.
Yes. And again, I love that. Again, like he had no intentions of being a bad guy until his no one's going to take me seriously. Fine, they're laughing at me. I'm going to take away laughter. Ha ha.
Right. So, what do you think of the whole taking away laughter plot in general?
I like that because again, it's like kind of communicating the message.
Kind of harkens back to Monsters Inc. a little bit for me,
which
I'm fine with. I mean, I'm not saying it rips off Monsters Inc. I'm just saying the whole idea of it is kind of in that same sort of vein.
Well, definitely the payoff is similar to Monsters Inc. in that again, laughter is stronger than anything.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying that hasn't come Monsters Inc. But I'm just saying taking away laughter. That to me is still very different.
No, but I'm just saying the idea of harnessing laughter or weaponizing laughter, you know what I mean? Just that whole idea is kind of in that same sort of vein. Anyways.
Right. But yeah, and of course, I love just with Professor Poopy Pants, as smart as he is, he's so ridiculous at the same time. Again, he just picks up on none of this. The fact that he has this very convoluted approach to getting his revenge via an elementary school.
Which is, I guess, part of the fun of it. The fact that he's got a very simple plan that he goes through very convoluted lengths to achieve.
Yes. Now, to be fair, though, I will give him this on kind of a second thought here is that, if you're going to try to take laughter away from children, because again, the children will grow into adults, and if you can kind of stop it at childhood, you don't have to worry about when everyone else is growing up. You're basically getting rid of the laughing gland of the brain, the laughing part of the brain. I'm just saying, I guess kind of experimenting on the kids in an elementary school for starters is probably a good move. I'm just saying, but the way they keep playing out of left field. It's like, oh yes, I'm going to an elementary school of all the schools you go
to. Right.
Yeah, and in a way, and just kind of adding a little bit of analysis to our villain and hero here is he's a more evilly proactive version of Krupp. Krupp doesn't like laughter either, and if Krupp was in control of his faculties. If Krupp was actually Krupp when he met Professor Poopy Pants, you don't know. I mean, Krupp obviously, even if he just got a bad feeling about this, he might be okay with it.
He could have maybe had a villain team up in a way.
In a way, yes. And again, Book Krupp probably would be more more willing for that. But you see what I'm saying, though? Just this idea of that, if Krupp, while he is grumpy, and he doesn't truly deep down, hate children, want to do anything that
Of course, right.
that kind of, well, not, I don't want to say traumatize them, but kind of stunt them.
No, I know what you're saying. It's like he's just kind of a guy who's at the end of his rope when it comes to his job. You know what I mean?
It's like too good at his job, which is just to kind of do everything, kind of make everyone just kind of like not like school.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just like evilly proactive version of Krupp. So he's just trying to put an end to childish, children's laughter. So,
Sure.
Well, of course, I like that he does sync up with his look from the book too. I just love he goes out of his way to look exactly like the comic. He's just wearing the purple suit and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our characters. Let's move on to some specifics. Let's get to the animation.
Yes, an animation, obviously, very super faithful.
Now, this movie was done on kind of a budget, right?
Yes, again, hence the Canadian thing.
Yeah. So I just think I think that was a very smart move on DreamWorks' part, because they knew that this movie, because of the stylistic nature of the actual source material, this didn't have to be a How to Train Your Dragon. Where
exactly, it does. We don't have to use like kind of the break the bank type of motion capture animation. We don't have to. We don't have to do that. We have the new technique.
Can you imagine if this movie did look like something like How to Train Your Dragon? Like, it would look out of place. You know what I mean?
Very much so. Again, it's them making the very it's sort of the Spielberg.
Now that'd be the Frank Miller era Captain Underpants.
Yeah, but it's sort of like the Spielberg thing of like we don't have money. We can't have like a super cool looking shark, so we got to obscure it. And shark wouldn't work, so we can't. So we got to obscure as much as possible, which works. With Captain Underpants here, it's such a simplistic style. We don't need to go all in the animation. We just got to make sure the movements of the animation are down pat, which does not cost as much money in animation.
I mean, I think stylistically, I don't think it's quite as impressive as something like the Peanuts movie, which you and me both kind of use the game changer term we threw around with the Peanuts movie in terms of like that whole sort of like, the 2D mixed with the 3D with the Peanuts movie. I don't think it quite gets to that level, but it's very effective at what it's trying to do.
Here's the thing, Tiki. I would make an argument, yes, but only because it's a different style. Because this, like, again, the Peanuts, they worked with the Charles Schulz handbook, so they emulated everything from Charles Schulz's art style, like every little the sixes built into.
I'm just saying, the Peanuts had more of a level of attention to detail to it, which, as you said, like it does all come down to the source material for sure. And
I'm saying by the Pilkey barometer, that I think they measure up as faithful as they could do with the look and just kind of bringing it to the animation.
Right.
I'm saying it's like the same effect, just with a different kind of scale for like how exactly we need to make it.
Mm-hmm. Of course, we're kind of saving some of this stuff for some of our favorite scenes, Dragon, because the bending of different styles of animation is really kind of this movie's claim to fame right now. I think it's what most people are talking about when they are talking about the movie, is the different styles of animation that get worked in.
Yeah, and all the we have all the Pilkeyisms in the design, like the hands. Like you'll notice the hands are, I believe with. I'm right with 4 fingers, and always kind of like curled up in a position of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just on the whole, just because we keep bringing up Dark Knight Returns every which way, it does improve.
For some reason,
it does improve. It does improve upon the book with the consistency in the design. Because again, it's like you can tell, especially in the early books, Captain Underpants. Again, the designs will change; they won't be always on model.
Because it was like basically Pilkey just drawing all of it himself, right?
Yeah. If I'm right, yes, it's absolutely him doing it by himself.
Which makes sense. Like, I remember, like Dragon, I did have, like I said this on the non-spoiler podcast, like I have like binders upon binders of comic books that I would do in high school. I was a little older than George and Harold, but I still had that phase of doing comic books in school. And yeah, I can definitely say my characters were very off model a lot of the time.
Now, when they're making this movie, while they knew they weren't making it in 2D, they didn't want to have as much 2D as they could without getting too into it. Again, say they do work with the other mediums. 2D is definitely worked in there.
2D is absolutely probably that's the one that's the most prevalent.
We have the crayon comic look, which looks fantastic. And I was wondering how they're going to bring that to life. Because let me bring this up to you, Tiki. Ever since they've been re-releasing the Captain Underpants books, now they're starting to re-release them in color. But before the longest time, we've had in black and white. Which do you prefer, black and white or color?
Oh, I'd always go black and white.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't
And
seen the color ones or what they look like, but I just, it's just, kind of. I'm
it
just
leaves
a
more to
purist
the
that way.
imagination in black and
Yeah,
white. I figure.
sure.
And with that, I'm just saying, based on, for
I
me,
mean, I honestly forgot the books were in black and white just because those covers stand out so
I
much.
know,
You know what I
right?
mean?
Yeah, it's like when I was like is looking at you, oh my god, yeah, it was in black and white.
Yeah. I mean, now that you say that, like, of course, yeah, I remember very vividly, like the fliporamas and everything. Yeah, of course, it was all black and white. Sure.
Yeah, and with that, just the beginning of this movie, we have the crayon comic, and of course, for all those years, again, we just imagine it's like almost in gray pencil because again, it's always looked that way. And in fact, we still have that comic book look to it, and the benefit of doing it on you in feature animation is that the art style of the boys doesn't have to be because Pilkey had a decision making. Can you buy that these kids have the artistic talent to kind of make something that looks exactly like Captain Underpants that we're going to get in the movie, but we kind of make it seamless in the movie.
Sure.
I understand, like Captain Underpants does look exactly he does in the comic as he does there, instead of like kind of looking like an approximation of what Captain Underpants looks like in real life. We have the stylistic differences. So we start with the comic look. We have cutouts and we have other
stuff. Yes.
Which is awesome, which we'll get to.
Okay.
Of course, the timing explanation and the exclamations are really just on point, very much. And of course, Fliporama. So
yeah. Okay, should we get into the music then?
That's a little bit on the music, yeah, sure.
All right. I mean, it's not my favorite Weird Al song, if I'm being completely honest with you. I much prefer the theme song to Milo Murphy's Law myself, but it's fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not all that memorable to me. In general, I don't think the music is really a strong point with this movie. It's kind of just generic superhero music from what I remember.
Yeah, the score is done by Theodore.
Keep in mind, it's been about a week since I've seen this, so I might be a little fuzzy on the score.
Right. I didn't really hit any themes that really stick out to me, but it's again, I think it complements the movie well. It feels very much in the style that Captain Underpants would sound like. It's a very very diverse and bona fide. With I'm sorry, yeah. So Theodore Shapiro did the score, and it's bona fide is what I'm starting to say, not bona fide. The guy is a very diverse bona fide because he's done Falling with Dick and Jane, again, kind of another thing kind of unites him with the directors and the and the writer. He did The Intern. He's done he's the closest thing he did to a superhero film or an animated film was Pirates, the stop motion film. Remember
okay. I've been meaning to see that one.
That's a fun watch. Looks good, looks great. Just it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I'm
that's
saying
mostly why I want to see it is the animation.
Yeah, certainly, and again, the pirates fun. That again, those are my kind of pirates too. Those are like the swashbuckling pirates. Those are like,
not the Johnny Depp like rock star sex symbol pirates.
I don't like dirty drunk pirates. I don't like.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so point is like very
diverse.
The
only person on the planet that thought the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie was good. Like, it wasn't a great movie, but it was good. It was solid. Anyways.
Anyway, so I'll agree. I really do. I do like that they got Weird Al Yankovic to do the theme song.
I mean, he definitely fits in with the Captain Underpants style for sure. I don't know. I'm just going based on memorability, and like I said, I definitely think that Milo Murphy's Law theme song is more memorable, but that's not really a fair comparison.
I was saying it was a cool ending for the movie in the credits, just hearing Weird Al, and just Weird Al mixed with Captain Underpants again, such a weird combination that feels so right.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, so I guess let's move on to let's see, pros and cons.
I'm sorry. One last thing with the music is that also we have like good song choices that were in the trailers that were also in the film, like Biggie, the Oh Yeah from Ferris Bueller's Day
Off. Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that. The Oh Yeah.
So we have to mention that. I mean, that was a huge. That sold me on the. I was already sold on the movie. Like I have to see this movie.
Hold up. I've been trying to decide on my third favorite moment, Dragon, and that is my third favorite moment. So let's put a pin.
Okay. Right. And so pin. Stuck in there. Okay. Anyway, so I guess I didn't like the Saturday song. That's a lot. I didn't like the. I wasn't super crazy about that Saturday song. I guess I'm getting the con, so I don't know why you just said that. But
Okay, so
It was a song.
I guess cons. Let's go to cons and then go around to pros because we've been very, very positive on this movie.
All right, just to make it all fair.
Okay. As I said, I think the Melvin character is, while not entirely a hindrance to the movie, and Jordan Peele is, as talented as ever. I think the Melvin character is kind of a cliche. I've just seen that exact same character in like 1,000 other cartoons. And that's all. I'm kind of hard pressed to come up with cons beyond that, to tell you the truth.
I have a few, but bear in mind, none of these by any stretch take away from. I want to make it clear: these aren't like things that cripple the movie or anything. Okay, these are just very minor nitpicks.
One more thing from my end, structure-wise, I think it could have been held together a little bit more solidly than it was. To me, it almost sort of reminded me of the Winnie the Pooh movie from 2011, which is also a movie that got overshadowed by a blockbuster, much like this is getting. But with that Winnie the Pooh movie, it was essentially 3 stories kind of tacked together. And while I think Captain Underpants does a better job of tying the storylines together, I still think it does kind of have that weird sort of like, okay, yeah, this is like the Captain Underpants origin story and Professor Poopy Pants, and it's like there's a little tiny bit of disconnect there. It doesn't really hurt the movie for me.
I'll admit, yeah, how we work Poopy Pants, it does feel like a little like now we have another story.
Exactly. It's kind of like I said. It almost kind of feels like the Winnie the Pooh thing, where we have a great first story, and then it's like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. Anyway,
here's my very, very, very few cons. One's actually just kind of a broad fear, more of a con than a con, but I have to address it. Well, again, just very simple as nitpick is I wasn't super crazy about the Saturday song. When they're starting to get into a song about it's like Saturday, it's also wonderful.
I thought it was fine. But
it wasn't really a song. It was just
I mean, what kids don't, what kid doesn't worship Saturdays? I mean, that's the thing with me about it. Kind of brought me back in a way to,
Well, no. I'm perfectly fine with what they're saying. It's like, did they have to start singing it?
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
I don't have a problem real musical numbers in the movie, except for that one. It's like a little out of place.
All right.
Again, it's very minor. Right? It doesn't take away from the movie.
Okay.
Let's see. This is just for me, but one of my favorite things in the Professor Poopy Pants book was the they lost the name boards. Like the giant billboards with all like the essentially Poopy Pants. What he does, he gives everyone like he forces everyone to have ridiculous names like himself.
Oh God.
So this is where basically almost like a decoder ring type thing. Basically, it's like for your initials, like your 3 initials. Mm-hmm. You have 3 boards, and like A through Z, you have like a ridiculous name, and like the middle part of the ridiculous name, and then basically so you would have like Poopy Pants, Diarrhea Steam, Poopy Pants, whatever,
Right.
That's the thing, like Professor Poopy Pants. Basically, it's like a 3-part name like that.
So basically, you're saying it's not really a con of the movie; it's just something you wish you would have.
Going into the movie, I was looking forward to seeing that, and it wasn't there. But they made a mention to it. I was like, yeah, they mentioned basically when George and Harold giving themselves ridiculous nicknames. That's a reference to that. And I was like, yeah, they mentioned. But it was so cool though when they have all the names. I was wondering because I was really curious. How are they going to bring that to the big screen? How are they? It's such a thing. You read. You stop and you read. That's
of course.
But it's like, I was going to see how clever they're going to be putting that in there. So again, it got in there somehow. So I shouldn't be real cheesed off. I was like, it's a very minor gripe. Okay, out of all my gripes, most.
All right.
Let's see. They have a Jennifer from Back to the Future issue if they do a sequel.
Oh God! Okay.
Edith saw that Krupp turned into Captain Underpants. That means if they do a sequel, they have to worry about Edith. Again, I'm not saying again.
To be fair, I think Edith is a lot more likable and interesting of a character than Jennifer was. I mean,
I'm not trying to rate Jennifer over the coals.
I'm not trying to either, but I'm just saying if you're comparing Jennifer to Edith, Edith's a lot of fun. You can do stuff with Edith in a sequel. She doesn't have to be out in a dumpster for half the movie.
Well, just to show you how good this film is, folks. Again, these are broad fears. At this point, my next one is again, it's the Jennifer Back to the Future. It's something they should be made aware of. I guess is that if they do a sequel, they're gonna have to. It's gonna be annoying if they just completely forget about it. Oh, Edith saw that was that Krupp is Captain Underpants. He was all impressed by it. So
I don't think they're gonna ignore it.
That's what I'm saying. As long as if they do a sequel, it's something they got to address. So the other thing is that this one's little more drawn as it. As great as the references were, you got a lot of essentially, folks. This film works really well in that if you wanted to, it could be a one-off. And in doing so, they may have crippled themselves for sequels. That's my other fear for the future. Again, close thing I have to a con for the movie is that the references are great. But references to essentially every book is in this movie. Essentially,
at least all the major books, before the hiatus.
I'm saying we have a lot of comic covers that go by fast. I'd have to freeze frame to see like if there might be 12 villains in there. I'm not sure. If not, they might have referenced everything. Point is, if for longevity's sake, they may have limited themselves. That's what I'm pointing out. We have like the aliens from the lunch lady thing. On on Harold's pajamas, he has the aliens from that book are all over his pajamas. Like that's a neat reference, but I'm not saying like that's gonna like say aliens maybe aliens look like that in this universe, and when we see them, they're gonna actually look like that. So I'm not saying that's gonna hinder them entirely, but that the alien story gave Captain Underpants his powers, and now in this movie we gave him his powers through different means, which means we're gonna have to change some stuff up, which again may not cripple them for the future. Just the point is we're gonna have to change things around, and some stories we're not gonna be able to do, or else it's gonna feel like really like we're doing this all over again. You know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying. I'm not as worried about it as you are.
I'm just pointing out that it's not completely untenable. I'm saying some things are going to feel convenient as long as they pointed out how convenient it might be. I think like, they make a joke about it. It's like, for example, the Wedgie Woman, that teacher who doesn't really do anything in this movie. She's supposed to become the Wedgie Woman, and we saw like a comic of the Wedgie Woman. I wonder like how much that's. She gets hypnotized with a hypno ring as well in the book. So are we going to do something like that in the future?
I definitely think they can change up how the villain origins. I don't think everything needs to be, hypno ring.
Well, I know that. I'm just saying, like I wonder if like all those references may have endangered like doing those villains in the future. It's a concern. It's not like a problem.
At this point, I'm just hoping the movie gets a sequel to begin with. To tell you the truth, that's all I care about.
Right, because just the usual way, we have like hypno rings, vague science, aliens.
Well, as we said, and let's kind of transition into strengths here, because a big strength of the movie is the fact that they do kind of like take the stuff from the source material, but kind of like expand upon it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it does kind of have that hypnotism plot line to it, but we get a lot more in depth with with the actual characters.
Exactly. Again, folks, just at that point, it's like again, it's like them doing too good a job. Essentially, that's my gripe for cons for this movie.
Yeah, how dare they have too many references? Come on,
they had so many great references, and let's keep it in mind, folks, that again, just every Captain Underpants book, essentially, they make a comic that the teacher who turns into that villain sees it. I don't like this, and they turn into it. So that's what I'm saying.
Like, I think that formula works better for a children's book series than it does for a movie series. Yeah. And so I definitely think with the villains in the future, especially what they have set up with Melvin and everything, I definitely think it's going to be a departure from the books. I definitely don't think we're going to get that same level of anyways.
Anyway, so getting to all the good stuff.
Yeah, of course, like the animation, for it being on a budget, it looks great. I love the different styles, as we'll talk about,
We have an excellent voice cast.
Excellent voice cast, very faithful to the books. One of the best movies about childhood that I've seen in a while, man. Probably since the Peanuts movie, if I'm being honest with you. Just the pure idea of like what it means to be a kid and summer vacation and and all that sort of stuff. Granted, summer vacation's not in the movie, but you know what I mean? Like, like all that sort of like, like life, like they do a great job of like how life is heightened as a kid.
There are a lot of really great messages, like two kids and adults in this film. That's my biggest compliment I can give the movies. Again, it feels like such a kind of a '60s Batman thing. Like the kids are gonna enjoy it, and the adults are gonna like kind of laugh at like, oh, how clever it is.
Yeah, and of course, with those, with those lessons and everything comes the whole, the emphasis on creativity and the emphasis on art, which that just hits me right in the feels, right? And that's something that I just advocate strongly.
There are other great messages when they go up against Poopy Pants, because you have like this message of laughing at yourself and kind of embodying joys and all the shenanigans they're doing. Because again, they're not doing any pranks to harm anyone. They're doing these pranks to the improvements they made over the book. Let's get into that a little bit here. So again, the book. The very first book, George and Harold, we see when they're committing their pranks on the elementary school, they're pranking everyone. They're pranking the students, and it seems like you can understand why Krupp and everyone at the school might have it out for George and Harold. And as much as like the books tell us like these are good kids, I mean, I see why they kind of they're going a little too far with it here, and
Right.
and then then Krupp's blackmailing them essentially. Those are negative things from the book that we don't have in this movie here, because we see they only prank the staff just to bring some joy into everyone's life, hence the embodiment of joy, and Krupp's just lazy and trying to nail them for like, I know they're behind this, kind of like the teacher from The Incredibles. I have them on tape. Unfortunately, that kid had super speed. In this case, they don't have super speed, so they got him on tape.
Right.
And and to a degree, Tiki, there's somewhat of this with Poopy Pants. Again, it sounds ridiculous to kind of say that over and over again, but I'm going to go figure. It's kind of an anti-bullying message with.
No, you're right. You're very much right. Yeah.
And there's an anti-bullying message with kind of the message of don't take revenge. Poopy Pants is taking unnecessary revenge.
Okay.
Again, we developed a layered Krupp. That's the best thing. We never saw his home life in the book, or why he's so grumpy. And of course, we developed that. We have the. I'm going to read into it here, T. You tell me this sounds crazy, and I just kind of add to maybe something that works in with the Krupp things, that maybe the hypnosis rule that you only do something that that you'd be willing to do. I think that says about Krupp, the reason he can turn the Captain Underpants, because deep down he is a nicer guy who likes the Captain Underpants books, who appreciates the creativity in the Captain Underpants books, but he won't admit that to himself. So maybe that's why he can turn the Captain Underpants.
Okay. I get it. Yeah, I see it.
Of course, we went silly and out of left field with the animation, which is just a really great movie. Of course, there's that message of, hey, give the ridiculous a chance. With this movie, like a movie called Captain Underpants. And I know in a million years, like, I'm not going to see that, sound silly, but no, give it a chance. It's kind of the vibe.
A pro of this movie for sure is that, oh my god, like they had every opportunity to just go overboard with the toilet humor, and they don't.
Yep, there's only one genuine fart joke in this movie.
Yep. And honestly, it's a funny fart joke. I gotta say.
We have a great fourth wall comedy, and again, just having fun with the kids' film.
This is the closest thing we'll get to like a kids' movie version of Deadpool.
Absolutely, and possibly a franchise for DreamWorks. That would be the closest thing to Deadpool.
Right. Okay. Should we move on to favorite scenes then?
One last thing is I think we combine the three books in a natural. I'm saying of the stories they picked, I think they picked three that were like a good combination. You have like the origin, which of course we have to do. We have the toilets, which is always like one of the great visuals of Cat Army. It's like the giant turbo toilet. I love that design. And of course, Professor Poopy Pants kind of the most iconic and ridiculous sound.
He's the Lex Luthor of Captain Underpants.
And I like the build to the name. That was good too. We built to the name.
Right. Okay.
Like if anyone didn't know his name, anyway.
All right. Favorite moments then. I'll start, Dragon, since you've been doing a lot of talking. I want to get my fill in. So yeah, of course, folks. I love this type of humor. Any time it shows up, fourth wall breaking humor is very much the type of humor where it's like, yep, you don't even really have to try that hard. All you have to do is like address the fact that you're in a movie and you can make me laugh. But I don't know, Dragon. And now you told me about how they play the same sort of gag in the Deadpool game, and it sounds like it's even better in that. But for this is like the first time I've seen something like this, where it's like, in a movie, we basically have George and Harold kind of just setting up the dynamic, sort of setting up the the school, like, yeah, we play pranks and we're best friends and we got that situation solved. Like, remind me exactly what leads into this, Dragon.
I'm pretty sure they try to wrap up the movie at the point where it's like right after they they hacked into it was the invention convention on Saturday, and everyone was dying aboard, and just like, George, we have to do something. They're dying, and so along those lines. Krupp's like asleep. Basically, they sneak behind. The turbo toilet, and they haywire it. So they work on it so it goes haywire, and it's shooting toilet paper. It's like it turns into a big party, and he's like, yeah,
much like a DreamWorks ending. It ends in a dance party.
Yep, and then basically it's like importantly it was raining all the beginning of the morning, and now it's like, hey, it's all sunny, and then
George and Harold are just like, hey, yeah, we wrapped that up pretty good, didn't we, Harold? Oh yeah, that was a really short movie, but it was fun. It was fun.
As
We
they're
had some good
walking
times, some
forward.
good laughs, and then the credits start rolling, and the credits just killed me. Dragon. It's just like written by George and Harold,
Which is
directed
true.
by George and Harold,
Which is most likely
starring
true.
George and Harold,
Not a lie.
produced by George and Harold.
Also true.
Yes. So just I'd say out of all the fourth wall breaky stuff in the movie, that's definitely like the thing that hit me in the sweet spot. Okay, number 2, Dragon. I love, as you mentioned, the great oh yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, go on.
It's so simple, right? Like, again, this kind of speaks to my whole the comedy sweet spots for me. Like, any slow-mo gag is bound to get me, Dragon. Anytime animation especially uses slow motion, I crack up, and this is no exception. They use the whole the slow-mo oh yeah.
This love is coming from all the girls and the one guy in the water fountain.
It's so fun. It's just we see all these we just see George and Harold just strutting into school all confidently, and that song's playing, and we get those great slow-mo gags. I mean, like I said, it's not the most original gag in the world. Using slow motion is kind of it's actually sort of an easy gag, but it's one that I do kind of eat up, and that was a moment I remember in the movie just absolutely laughing my heart out at. So got to include that. And then, of course, Dragon.
Real quick, I just want to talk about that moment. To me, I think is super important for the movie, because especially in the trailers. Because again, when we first saw it, I mean, not only just being sold in the movie just had nostalgia's sake, but I think to the general audience, it just shows you it's such a great tone-setting moment. That Ferris Bueller thing, and to me, just the Captain Underpants fan, anyone who's just a fan of Captain Underpants, it's like that level of oh my, what kind of take are they going to have with this movie? And say, oh my God, doing Ferris Bueller with it, that's perfect. I never in a million years would have thought of that, and they did it. They're geniuses.
Sure.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
They did.
Okay, and finally, Dragon. Oh my God, I was wondering throughout the whole movie, they've got to have some Flip-O-Rama in here somewhere, right? they got to, and they do it at the perfect moment, Dragon. The perfect moment, which is at the height of the climax.
When the turbo toilet is attacking Captain Underpants.
The height of the climax, and this is kind of like a real world sort of thing, right? It's oh crap, we don't have the animation budget for this. Flip-O-Rama. And so I love the Flip-O-Rama. I love how it plays out, because it's exactly like in the books. It's just it's the two drawings that you flip back and forth to make a little image, a little moment of animation, and we just get that. We get George and Harold explaining it, and seeing the flips back and forth. We see 3 or 4 of them, right? Explaining how Captain Underpants is fighting the toilet, and it's just that right there, Dragon. That is kind of the moment where I fell in love with this movie. I was really enjoying this movie before that, but when they did that, I was oh. They did it. They did it. This is completely in the spirit of Captain Underpants. This is wonderful.
What I love more is when it stops, and the reason for it stopping is that we ran out of paper.
Yes.
Oh, I think that's brilliant. Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Fire through yours.
Okay, I'm just trying to get the chronology down.
Yeah.
This first, Act 2. 2, 3. Okay, I got it now.
Right.
So I'm going to start big here. So of course, one of the absolute most hysterical moments in the film that just everyone in the theater dies from laughing. I think it's unanimously. I mean, going through moments, I think, come on, this moment has to be top. The sock puppet game.
Yeah. I mean, that was I think I probably got more of a personal reaction to the Flip-O-Rama, but the sock puppets was the most unexpected thing, I think.
The Flip-O-Rama is a deep cut for the fans. But
I wouldn't say it's a deep cut.
Okay. I'm saying for general audience it's a deep cut, but for us,
sure.
Sorry, that's what I meant for deep cut. But yes,
it is a pool. It's a pool.
Yeah. Yes. If you know Captain Underpants, you're expecting Flip-O-Rama.
Of course.
This out of left field. This is completely. This thing I could see. It's again. This is the type of gag. If this is in Deadpool 2, I'd lose it as well.
Oh God! Deadpool just suddenly held up sock puppets.
Yes, and also like Wolfie was fighting someone with sock puppets still.
Oh my god!
Like he's
Oh my
doing
god!
Anyway, getting sidetracked. The point of sock puppet gang is hysterical. Basically, they've been walking home after. Actually, mine kind of connects to one of your moments. So after they get busted after the trying to wrap up early.
Uh-huh.
The rain then picks up after they get the bad news that putting you in separate classes. Mwah! So they're walking home in the rain. They get to the treehouse, basically kind of airing out like, oh god, we're going to be separated in separate classes. But yeah, I mean, of course, not realizing we'll still be next door neighbors, to be best pals forever. So
Right.
The point is just looking into the immediacy, like, oh no, be in separate classes. And George and Harold is basically he's like drying off, like twisting his socks, trying to get him not wet anymore, and he puts him on the demonstrative point is one white sock, one brown sock, and basically the CG then just like in a moment he basically describes what's going to happen. Again, bear in mind this is Harold the you need to rein him in for a coherent story, but you're going to get wonderful insanity if you just let him run wild. Okay, we see a flashback to almost a flashback to the scene we just saw where Krupp is basically demonstrating what his plan is. Or basically, the Krupp sock puppet we're a very good rendering of Krupp in sock puppet form. It has hands, and he points them in the direction like separately, left and right, like a T shape, and then they're going down the hallway, and then we do this. It's so well shot for sock puppets.
I know, right?
That's what's so ridiculously awesome about it. Is that it's like every kid's imagination on screen. It's like they're going down the hallway to like separate classrooms, hence the separate classes, and then they're looking back to each other and say, okay, it's not so hard. And then of course, as they look back to each other, then the hallway the stretch is like a mile long, and this is what sock puppets do. It's just like a mile long. It's like not only is it a sock puppet, you just add a randomness. It's add a randomness, and it's done so well, emotionally grippingly. It sucks.
Yes.
So over the top, and then of course, then Harold just kind of fires into, and yes, we may see each other casually. Like
this is my favorite moment
in the mall, and basically just it's like a whole mall full of sock puppets just going basically. If I'm being serious, because I watched the scene a couple times, like, oh my god, it's hysterical. George with a ridiculous haircut. He's like a ridiculous 80s haircut where it's like a flat top. It's like
right.
or something. So it's like the somehow older versions of the characters going like up and down the escalator, and as he's going up and Harold's going down, and Harold's like, I'm in a suit for some reason. Like, you have a ridiculous haircut, and I love that in Harold's. I just love this is the fun thing that's occurring to me in the moment. I don't know if you picked up on this because they always say in the openings of the books, George has the tie and the flat top, and Harold has the one with the ridiculous haircut. But in Harold's imagination, George has the ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He's giving George the ridiculous haircut, and he's like, "Oh, hi, George." Or, yeah, hi, George. He says, "Who are you again?" Then I'm in a suit for some reason. Then robots in the style. I love the attention to detail on this. Robots in the style of the robots, the random robots from the first book that we have this way. Again, referential, folks. Really good reference. Then robots are. What are robots? What are robots here? It's in the future. Everything in the future is robots. Then robots are then firing each other. Why are they firing each other? Robots are usually friends. I don't know. You're the writers. Why is we're not together? And then charging through the mall is a giant version of kind of the bane of what is separated their friendship. This adorable tattletale tortoise.
Yes. Oh my god!
It's like a stuffed toy with a nanny cam inside. And I love the nanny cam eye turns into a laser just fired upon, and they're freaking ass sock modes. And cut back to the CG of Harold just going nuts. Oh! The sock modes. Oh my god! Such a brilliant scene again. A great example of using a different medium and just has that out of left field again. That strange weird quality that's played seriously yet with a tongue-in-cheekness applied to it. It's a perfect scene in the movie. My God.
Okay.
Watch it. All right. Then following that.
Is it on YouTube?
Well, I'm just saying, you can probably find it on YouTube.
Okay. Fair enough.
Anyway, so listen to everyone so you can watch the movie, watch that scene too. You don't have to watch it again. So, okay, speaking of rains, as we brought us to the sock puppet scene, the downer to Act 2. That to me is a real poignant moment in the film. So after the
lows.
Yes, the low of lows. So the ending of Act 2 essentially is like this is like an idea of Captain Underpants. I don't know if we've ever seen, because bear in mind, we're missing kind of the second half of the book series. Because
Sure.
Maybe they did this, or maybe it's like something that was even in the original one. We forgot about this. To me is such a brilliant idea to do with Captain Underpants. And at least in my memory, I've never seen it. Struck me as like, oh my god, that's so effing brilliant. How has that never been done before? Where after the carnival, after all the chaos of the carnival, of Krupp, this hilarious sequence of Krupp snapping back and forth from Captain Underpants, because people just randomly keep splashing water on him every which way, just the clumsiest elementary school you've ever seen. And we have this Krupp. He basically, I won't get into all the reasons. He's coming down from a parachute.
Right.
And he's coming down from a parachute in the rain. So now it's raining. So again, we're in a situation. This is the brilliant part for me. Is there's that. If it's constantly raining, he's going to be completely drenched in water, which means he can't, even as much as they snap their fingers, he's not going to become Captain Underpants.
Mm-hmm.
Just to me, oh god, it's such a brilliant idea, and that's the perfect way to end Act 2 in the Low of Lows, where Krupp's coming down. We see that Principal Prickly side of him, where it's that sort of thing. Where it's just kind of seeing like there is some genuine danger with kind of this. And again, there's a great commentary from the movie in this scene as well. Like, as fun as Captain Underpants is, he is quite dangerous. And we saw, like, again, this carnival, which, again, is from the book, too, by the way, this carnival. Not the way this scene goes. I'm saying the boys got a carnival when they were principal for a day. And with this carnival thing, again, some kids got sucked in the cotton candy. A girl's, like, floating off nowhere. Again, the Ferris wheel crashed into the school. And there's a lot of chaos in this scene. Again, Krupp's getting, like,
we always see that whole, like, the Ferris wheel, like, coming off of its hinges. That seems to be, like, a go-to thing with animation.
Yeah, and you see it's you see again Krupp. We see some justification on Krupp's part, like why he is the opposite of like him just keeping order in the school, no matter how depressing it is, keeping order, and keeping everyone safe. And he comes down there, he's really peeved at George and Harold. Again, it's just like that downer realization that, oh my god, it's the return of Krupp and the disappearance of kind of hope and happiness as Captain Underpants. It's just like it's just that realization of like, oh no, we can't get out of this one.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, just that ending just kind of struck me. Not only the cleverness of it, but just like how real world's it's grounding us from all the fun we've had in such kind of out of the blue way that felt just so appropriate, so kind of emotionally grabbing. So I really love that scene. And lastly, this moment is really again a great moment, kind of the sun rising again from that sunrise. The ending of the film, essentially, what gives us the ending is where the boys realize after they've crushed the hypno ring and basically to their knowledge they got rid of Captain Underpants. Yeah, they've grown up to get rid of Captain Underpants. So they basically they walk by and they've done. I love that they did a prank to benefit Krupp. They did this prank to basically set him and Edith up. They go on a date. Basically them instead of the meandering about they want to ask each other out, but they can't. The boys have kind of concocted a prank by leaving kind of a lovely invitation to a dinner for each of them, and they kind of ask. They walk by Krupp's office, kind of embrace their hand over, kind of gauge if it worked or not. Hey, Principal Krupp. You got any plans for tonight? He says, well, he's kind of gloating about it here because that's what Krupp does. Like, well, if you must know, yes, I do. And then we have this sweet moment again, shows you that maybe deep down he can turn Captain Underpants because he likes Captain Underpants. He basically applauds the boys' creativity. He says, well, you know what? He hands him back the Captain Underpants comics that he's had in his drawer, and I think it speaks volumes that he's kept him in his drawer all these years instead of just throwing them out.
Nice moment, yeah.
So the fact that he kind of was throwing them out for a moment is like, did you get these from trash cans? Says, well, yes. I mean, they're ridiculous, and I threw them away, but I mean, they are quite well drawn. Basically, it's like gave him props in some way, just saying, well, I mean, he said they are quite funny. He said something to dismiss them, but then he said something really nice on the way out. You know what I mean? He just said but they are somewhat funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's just him giving him that little pat back. We never see that with Krupp. Him giving a little pat back. Boys, I like what you do, but it's like the closest thing Krupp will ever have to complimenting the boys. Really sweet scene. That whole thing really nice kind of ending for the Krupp arc for the movie.
Okay. And Dragon, I'm sorry to say this, but now we're kind of at the point where I need to keep my voice down, so we need to wrap this up as soon as we can.
So sequels.
Yeah, so sequels. I don't know. I mean, let's talk finances. I'm glad this movie was done on a budget because it is not doing well at the box office. Like I said, it is very much like a...
Has it made its money back yet?
I would not be surprised if it has made its money back just because the budget was something like $30 million. It's way, way below the budget of an average animated film. It's probably one of the cheapest mainstream animated films, besides something like Sausage Party, which was 19 million. Um, I don't know. So, like, as for me, it's like I definitely think they have a lot to draw from the books. Obviously, I would kind of like to see a team up between Melvin and the Wedgie woman.
I definitely love to see the Wedgie one, and of course we know Melvin. Essentially, I pitch him like a Harry Osborn type. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, because they definitely have set up to do something with him in the sequel.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't really have all that many ideas for the sequel, to be honest with you. I mean, to tell you the truth, though, I actually do think that they could factor in Edith quite well into the sequel, though. I think they could give Edith a bigger role.
I'm down for that. I just wonder if they're going to do it or not.
I mean, as you said, there is kind of like the pitfall of like they need to acknowledge that Edith knows that he is Captain Underpants, but if they go that route, I think there's a lot of fun to be had there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. Just just in general, keep up with the with the breaking the mediums and whatnot. More fliporama, more sock puppets, all that good stuff. Keep that up. More fourth wall breaking. I don't know. Maybe have a situation like maybe deal with the boys kind of transitioning from middle school or from elementary school to middle school.
I mean, never really did have that, so that's something to maybe play with.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw this at you. So bear in mind, of course, folks, there are 12 books with endings that are ending. Basically, it's 12 books with an ending. Definitive ending, and basically the ending of Captain Underpants is basically it's the thing that said, we're done telling Captain Underpants stories. Let's move on to some spinoffs like Super Diaper Baby and The Dog Man. Basically, that's if they are supposed to always do spinoff movies, assuming the Captain Underpants book goes well. So I mean, that's something up in the air. Anyway, personally, again, I would love for the sequel to have the Wicked Wedgie one because, again, she's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, she is, and quite literally in design, she is essentially the Dr. Octopus for Captain Underpants.
yeah, very much so.
Which, one, is cool, and of course, we could do kind of a Spider-Man 2 with Captain Underpants, which would be awesome.
God.
And speaking of that, of course, regardless of what we do, like, whoever the main villain is, which, again, let me walk through my ideal pitch and what a likely pitch is, all right? It's very simple. Broadly for a trilogy, I'm not going to go through every single detail, just like villains and stuff to use, so... So again, personally, I'd love them to use Wedgwood for the sequel. Maybe use like another Hypno Ring or something else to get her there, whatever. Kind of make her relevant because again, she was just kind of in the background. Her main scene is like she's in the Uranus scene. She's in the the Uranus scene, which kind of saves the boys in the movie. Of course, it's a hugely important scene. Basically, we see after basically the premise of the second movie, like we get to know her a little bit, and we see that she's much worse than Crump, which basically could lead to some sequel jokes that we could do of like. Kind of like the Ted 2 jokes of like, hey, we're doing this again, like acknowledging like kind of some fourth wall breaking, like, yeah, we're kind of doing the same stuff again, like, hey, let's use the Hypno Ring. Do you remember what happened last time? Oh no, it'd be totally different. Now I know how it works.
Right.
And I really want them to keep the ending because Tiki, I don't know if you remember this, the Wedgie one had a wonderful ending.
I don't remember it at all.
It was that basically when they snapped her out of it, when they got her back to normal, they did make her nicer. She baked the class cookies.
Okay, yeah. As I said, Dragon, it's been decades. So
basically, whatever they do, I'm saying your main villain, kind of like Professor Poop Pants, will be the Wedgie Woman, and what you do on the side is that we introduce the beginnings of the Booger Boy story, where we introduce Sulu. Sulu was the hamster that basically Melvin got jealous of his hamster, so he turned to a Booger Boy. I know how ridiculous that sounds, but just go with me. He had an adorable hamster that he brought as the class pet named Sulu, and everyone liked Sulu more than the guy who brought Sulu in. And basically, he just did more science stuff that turned him into the bionic Booger Boy.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we see that with Sulu. At the end, maybe he turns into like a post-credit thing or something. So that's 2, and then 3, just on the whole, just we do the Booger Boy payoff of Melvin. So that's kind of our Harry Osborn. He turns into the Booger Boy for the big third one. We introduce Sulu, the bionic hamster, because the hamster becomes a superhero. It's kind of cool.
Mm.
Sulu was awesome. Like Sulu defeated the Booger Boy. It was really cool. So that'd be a scene. It'd be great to see. And also, just because it's such a big villain, so this I'm throwing there for the sake of the movies. Let's reintroduce Professor Poop Pants because he did get away at the end of this movie.
He did. You're right.
So I'm saying that'd be we could
reintroduce. Have a redemption arc for Professor Poopy Pants.
Maybe, but you know what else we could do? Maybe Professor Poop Pants, because he did have scenes with Melvin. Maybe he's the reason he turns into the Booger Boy.
So maybe he's like the mentor to Melvin.
Yeah, because they did hit it off a little bit because they have no sense of humor. That's kind of their thing.
Oh, that little suck up boy.
Yes. Just this is me. Just like if they were to end things, if they were to go with a definite ending, and they do a fourth one, that would be the time like a time travel. The book series ended with a lot of time travels. I'm saying they have like all the purple potty stuff was time travel. So I'm saying they do like the time travels a way of kind of like ending the series permanently.
Okay.
And what most likely I could see happening is just basically if we do like an actual trilogy. That's my ideal version. What they could do is the end for all the rest of the series, and this is most likely very simple. Is they bring back they're going to probably bring Professor Poopants back on name alone. They're going to do that for the sequel as the main villain most likely. They're going to develop Melvin at the same time, I'd imagine, because again, memorable. He had a few books under his name. Melvin transformed into a lot of stuff in the series.
Sure.
And then the third one, just the end of the three, they'd probably end it with the time travel stuff regardless. Again, if they were to do like a definite time travel stuff, it's probably just, it's unavoidable.
Okay.
I'm sorry, one last thing, and I swear I'm done. Just point out is one last thing. Is that,
all right, as you know, I'm like not trying to ignore you or anything. I'm just I can't really talk. Anyways, go ahead.
I would avoid the aliens because I know the aliens are like kind of, if anyone would just point out like, hey, why don't they do the aliens? I personally avoid them because I would, but I'd avoid them personally, but I wouldn't be against seeing them if they had a good idea with it. I'm just saying they have to do some new stuff with it. Cause
it's just like Aliens is kind of like it's a dumb gimmick when it comes to kids movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of, we've kind of seen it. Oh God, don't like that. Just we've seen the aliens.
I'm sorry.
However, one thing that we would benefit from with the aliens, Steve, is that the aliens again they hilariously pretended to be lunch ladies, which of course would tie into Edith maybe.
Oh, okay. Could you imagine Kristen Schaal like having the scene with all the alien lunch ladies? Like
that's what I'm saying.
You ladies aren't yourselves lately. What's gotten into you?
So that's the thing. I'm not entirely against it. I'm just saying like I would go a different route because let's go more creative with it. But again, might be.
I mean, that would be a terrific way to kind of work in Kristen Schaal's character into the plot more, though.
And I'd imagine just instead of like again the aliens introduced Juice, but in the first movie we had again that would actually just think about it. Edith introduced kind of these super in a way to Edith's the reason Captain Underpants has powers because of like the toxic lunch.
Right.
And because of that toxic waste lunch energy source, that's kind of like our new thing instead of like that superpower juice that just got poured down Captain Underpants' throat.
Which was kind of random, yeah.
Yeah, and also the one cool thing we would get from the alien stories, like whether we had the giant carnivorous plant monster thing looked awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that at all? Just the giant like furry plant.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, so it was just kind of this broad speculation ideas. If they do or do see, which honestly they don't need to do, but if they do, that'd be great.
All right. So final thoughts. Like I said, it's getting to the point where I can't really say much, but yeah, this absolutely is my favorite film of 2017 so far, which is kind of shocking, because I went into the theater not with low expectations, but I went into the theater basically being like, okay, this could be like an Emperor's New Groove, or it could be like a Home. Like I really, really like it. For all I knew, like I avoided the Rotten Tomato scores and everything. So for all I knew, this could be a terrible movie. And, so walking into it with that attitude, I definitely came out smiling ear to ear. It's a wonderful, wonderful throwback to my childhood. It's, most importantly, Dragon, something we didn't really mention in this podcast, but not a goddamn smartphone to be seen. Not a smartphone to be seen in this movie, which is beautiful. It's just beautiful. I think this movie is a great message to kids to kind of like get out and enjoy, just like enjoy each other's company more than technology, and like take solace in each other, and use each other for inspiration. I think it's a great message about friendship. I think it's a great message about creativity, and it's got some of the sharpest humor I've seen in a kids movie since Emperor's New Groove. So yeah, like it a lot.
So I really enjoyed this film a great deal. It surpassed my expectations for it. I was hoping it was going to be good, just like again, hoping it was going to be reverential to the books, and it was beyond that. It surpasses some of the books even again, especially the first one.
Mm.
And again, it honored the book. And honestly, it honored the book better than any other DreamWorks film that's based on a book. I'll go as far as to say that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, some of the other stuff. I'm just saying in terms of like sticking to the source material. No other DreamWorks film has done it.
I mean, the other stuff that they've had are like Shrek and Dragons. Like that's all pretty like not close to the source material at all.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying in terms of like sticking as close as you can to the source material, something DreamWorks usually doesn't do. They did it they did, and it worked that phenomenal. It's the closest you can stick to it while still kind of turning into like a full length narrative.
Right.
So again, it's a perfect kids film. You know, emphasis on kind of like kids film, and that this is what a kids film should be. That entertains kids and it gives adults something to kind of enjoy at the same time. You know, the kids see themselves in George and Harold as kind of the silliness, and of course the adults appreciate kind of how the story's told, and kind of how random it is, and how it is kind of like a kid friendly Deadpool in certain respects.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a boatload of fun. Again, I imagine it's endlessly rewatchable. I can't wait to get it on DVD. And I hope Dave Pilkey's satisfied with it. I hope it lived up to his expectations too. I mean, I imagine it would, and it's just it's a great experience.
All right. So thanks so much for listening, folks. We will be back soon with a spoiler cast for Cars 3, which is another movie that I think Dragon and I are going to like a lot more than the general population. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, folks, tra-la-la.
Tra-la-la.